Long ago in a faraway land, nestled among a labyrinth of rivers and canals, was a tiny floating village. The houses were built on large rafts made of bamboo and wood, and they were anchored to the riverbanks with long hooks and chains. People lived and worked on these houses, traveling from one place to another by paddling their way through the waterways. It was a beautiful life, peaceful and serene, just like the flowing water around them. In this village lived a young girl named Konkea, who had an adventurous spirit that yearned to explore beyond the confines of her little floating world. Her father and older brother were expert fishermen, and every morning they would set out into the vast expanse of the river to catch fish, returning home with baskets brimming with silver and gold-colored fish. She longed to accompany them, to feel the wind in her hair as she paddled alongside her family's boat, but she was always told to stay behind. "Your place is here with us in the village," her mother would say. "You are not strong enough to go out there." So she spent her days learning to weave beautiful mats and baskets from the reeds and grasses that grew near the water's edge. Every day, she would sit by the edge of the village and watch her father and brother as they rowed further and further away. But even as the sun climbed higher in the sky and the heat shimmered on the water, she never heard the splash of a paddle returning. Her heart would sink as the villagers began to chatter about the lack of fish in their nets. They spoke in hushed tones of strange, uncharted areas in the river where the water ran dry, and of giant, hungry fish that had been snatching up the smaller ones. Fearful stories that only added to Kika's longing to explore the unknown. One evening, when the sky was painted with hues of orange and purple, Konkea's father and brother returned from their fishing trip empty-handed. A worried frown creased Konkea's forehead as she helped her father unload his boat. "What happened?" she asked, her voice echoing her concern. Her father sighed, his shoulders slumping. "The river has changed," he said, his gaze distant. "There's no fish to be found, and the water, it's just too dangerous now." He looked at his daughter with a mixture of sadness and pride. "You must take care of the garden, Konkea," he said, handing her a small boat filled with floating plants. "Don't let it drift too far." And with that, he disappeared into the house, leaving Konkea alone by the water's edge with her precious cargo. As night fell, casting long shadows across the village, Konkea settled into her small boat surrounded by water hyacinths, lotus blossoms, and clumps of water lilies. Each plant was anchored to the boat with intricate ropes, and she knew that if they drifted too far from the village, they might be lost forever. With a sigh, Konkea adjusted the small net that served as her shelter. Then she closed her eyes, lulled to sleep by the gentle rocking of the water. When she awoke, the sky was ablaze with the colors of sunrise. Konkea yawned, stretched, and looked around. To her horror, the plants were gone. The ropes were slack and the anchors had come undone. Her garden had drifted away in the night. Panic surged through her, threatening to capsize her small boat. What would her father say? What would the villagers think? Had her carelessness put her family's livelihood at risk? With shaking hands, Konkea grabbed her paddle and began to row after her floating garden. The river flowed like a ribbon of liquid silver, reflecting the changing colors of the sky above. But Konkea saw none of its beauty. All she could think of was the angry face of her father and the disappointed murmurs of the villagers. Hours passed and the sun climbed higher in the sky, turning the water into a shimmering expanse of gold. Just when Konkea's hope began to dwindle, she saw something in the distance. It was her garden, or what was left of it. The plants were wilting, their leaves drooping under the weight of the sun, and the vibrant flowers had closed up, their petals shriveling with thirst. With renewed determination, Konkea paddled faster. As she drew closer, she noticed that the river had become unusually still, as if the water itself was holding its breath. In the center of the river, she saw a patch of dry land, a small island that had not been there before. Relief washed over her as she steered her boat towards it. Hastily, she helped pull the plants out of the water and onto the island, then hurried back to the riverbank to collect more. By the end of the day, she had rescued all of her plants and saved them from certain death. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the island, Konkea realized that she was all alone. She had never ventured so far from her village, and now she didn't know how to get back. With a heavy heart, she laid down on the soft grass, the chirping of crickets and the croaking of frogs filling the night air. As stars twinkled above her, Konkea wondered if she would ever see her home again. Just when despair threatened to engulf her, a faint glow appeared on the edge of the forest. Curiosity sparked within her, driving away her fear. Konkea stood up, her eyes fixed on the mysterious light. As she walked deeper into the woods, the light grew brighter, revealing a clearing bathed in a warm, inviting glow. In the center of the clearing stood a majestic tree, its branches adorned with thousands of glowing lights. The sight was mesmerizing, and Konkea couldn't help but reach out to touch one of the branches. As her fingers brushed against the lights, they flared up, illuminating the clearing in a brilliant burst of color. Startled, Konkea stumbled back, but then a gentle voice echoed through the trees. "Don't be afraid, child," the voice said, and from the shadows emerged a woman unlike any Konkea had ever seen before. She had skin as white as moonlight and hair that flowed like a silver waterfall down her back. "Who are you, Konkea?" whispered awestruck. "I am the guardian of this forest," the woman replied, her voice as soothing as the flowing river. "And you, little one, have stumbled upon a place of magic." Before Konkea could respond, the woman gestured towards the glowing tree. "Why do you seek me?" she asked. Konkea hesitated, unsure how to explain her situation. But then she took a deep breath and began to tell the story of her village, of her father, and of her floating garden. As she spoke, the tree seemed to listen intently, its branches swaying gently in response. When Konkea finished her tale, the tree suddenly burst into a shower of sparks, and the magical woman stepped forward. "Do not worry, child," she said, extending a hand towards Konkea. "I will help you return home." Taking Konkea's hand, the woman led her to the edge of the clearing. There, waiting for them, was a magnificent boat made of moonlight and starlight. Its oars were crafted from polished silver, and its sails shimmered with all the colors of the rainbow. "This boat will take you back to your village," the woman explained, "but be warned, child, once you leave this place, you may never find your way back. Are you sure you want to go?" Konkea's heart ached at the thought of leaving the magical clearing and the kind woman who had helped her, but she knew that she had to return to her village. With a heavy heart, she bid farewell to the woman and boarded the boat. As the boat glided through the water, the magical woman's words echoed in Konkea's ears. "Remember, child, you are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and more loved than you know." With those words as her guide, Konkea steered the boat towards the familiar lights of her village. When her boat touched down on the riverbank, the villagers rushed to greet her, their faces etched with worry. But when they saw the boat made of moonlight and starlight, their eyes widened in awe. Konkea jumped out of the boat and raced to her father, throwing her arms around his waist. He hugged her tightly, his rough hands trembling slightly. "Oh, my daughter," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "We were so worried." Then, noticing the magical boat, he turned to the villagers and said, "This is a sign from the river gods. Our luck has finally turned." From that day on, Konkea's life changed. The villagers, inspired by her bravery, began to explore the river again, discovering new fishing grounds and bountiful patches of water plants. Konkea, true to her word, never forgot the lessons she learned on her journey. The river was no longer a source of fear, but a path to adventure, a reminder that even the smallest of hearts can be the bravest of them all. And so the tale of Konkea and her floating garden was passed down through generations, a timeless story of courage, discovery, and the unwavering bond between a daughter and her father.